What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. I have another total boss babe. You know I love connecting with my boss babes. She is a CEO and founder of Burning Soul Press, an award-winning and best-selling author and ghostwriter. She's passionate about helping purpose-driven people capture their life story. Please welcome Lauren Eckhardt to the show. Lauren, thank you for joining us. Can you tell the audience a little bit about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on this because it's perfectly aligned with my heart and my soul with everything that you stand for. And I appreciate the opportunity. So my background is my entire life. I've been a book nerd. I've loved being around the feel, the smell, the message, the meaning behind books and how they can really help people when they need it the most. But as I've gotten older too, I've really recognized more of what I feel like is my purpose with really being a safe space for people to open up and share their life journeys, kind of test out sharing, different elements of their life. Even when I was a little girl, total strangers, adults would just talk to me and they would be sharing these deep, dark secrets. And I just always learned that it was my job to listen in a lot of ways, listen and without judgment. And I know it sounds crazy because I feel like we're all like naturally judgmental people in some way or another. Like we have our opinions, right? We have our thoughts. But I can usually listen to people's stories and just listen with an open heart. And I really feel like that's been one of my skills throughout life. And as I've gotten older, I've recognized, how people just really want to be seen and heard for who they are. Mm-hmm. And so my entire life, even when I didn't think writing or anything related to books could be a real career because it doesn't make money, right? I went down the human resources path, and a big part of that was helping people identify their natural strengths and talents and find a position that aligns with that provides fulfillment and not just the success aspect. Yeah. So we don't feel like we're just spinning around in circles for most of our lives. But then it was after the birth of my two boys when things became really real for me. And I always call it this like triple breakdown moment. And most moms will get this when you are standing in front of two hysterical children. You're hysterical and sobbing because it just feels like, everything's insane. It was in that moment, after having 10 months of postpartum depression, that I recognized that their reaction in that moment was a pure reflection of what was inside me.
Yeah, they can feel that.
They could feel it. And everything in that moment shifted. I knew more than anything, I wanted them to have big dreams and to really believe that they had everything within to make it happen. And so I had to start living my life that way too. So they have become my why over the past, my oldest is 6, over the past 6 years for why I shifted my life, made a lot of risks. A big one was within that moment, I wrote 5 books and completed all of these goals that were just sitting there like boulders on your chest, when you're supposed to do something in life, right? And then you don't, and it just gets heavier and heavier and suffocates you. And they became my why for that. And then after I put out the books, I started receiving requests from other people to help them write their stories, to, help them publish their books. And when I first got my first request for someone who was like, I know my story can help people, my personal journey through this life can help people. I just don't know how to write it. Will you help me actually write my story? I feel like that's when my purpose came full circle. So I ended up opening Burning Soul Press, and, we focus on transforming life journeys into powerful books, but powerful books that can create generational change. So it's truly about the movement and making an impact for lifetimes to come.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. I'm a big book nerd too. Always have been. I love books. I've been told I should write a book, and I'm like, the thought of that is so overwhelming.
Hi, have you met me?
You might have to have a conversation.
For sure, sign.
But I think that, yes, I think that there are so many people out there that have stories that are very important to be told that can, because everyone has an audience, right? And if
Mm,
you can impact one person's life for the better, then you have done your job on this planet. You're good. You're
yes.
going to heaven or wherever, like wherever you think you're going to go in this world that's
Yes.
positive. You're leaving you're leaving a legacy behind. So I think that's amazing. I love your mission. I think that's great.
Thank you. And I completely agree with what you said. And it's sad how many people who will find out what I do and they're like, well, my life was boring. Like I would have nothing to write about. And it's heartbreaking because I'm
Yeah.
like, you have lived life at all. You've been on this journey filled with obstacles. If we start diving in, I can guarantee there have been so many shows of your resilience, of obstacles that you've overcome, of lives that you've changed. I mean, every minute we're alive, it's collectively combined into the future of the world, right? And
Yeah.
so I just feel like people need to start honoring those minutes of their life and see them for how important they actually are.
That was beautifully said. I might have to make a clip on an audiogram and post that later once this goes live. So when you made that choice to shift gears and just kind of, your life came full circle, what did that feel like?
I don't think I really recognized it in the beginning. It was kind of this, okay, this is fun. This is
Yeah.
exciting. I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing. It felt easy. It felt natural. At the time, I was just helping people and then getting paid for something I loved doing, which was fun. I never really expected to grow it into the business that it is today, or to have more specific offerings. So being able to look back and see it all develop now, it's fascinating. And I always just call it, I really believe that when you align with your purpose, it might be hard to get to that point. Like I'll use the expression that I feel like we all have these dreams on our hearts.
Mhm.
Most of us are aware of what those dreams are. But I feel like the dream is just this door.
Yeah.
And our goal is to get to the door. It's to, take that key from reaching that door and unlocking it. And truly what's meant for us is behind that dream. And we can't see it until
Yeah.
we get to that door. And that's what it was for me. I knew I wanted to write a book. So I wrote a book. I didn't know what was going to happen behind that book, behind that dream. And it's truly incredible, even through the tough moments, because running a business is hard. It's
Yeah.
hard,
Very hard.
especially when you launch it during a pandemic, especially when you have two young kids with you 24/7 because daycare and schools are closed
Yeah.
during that time. It's hard. You want to doubt yourself. You have imposter syndrome, but I really feel like when you're aligned, you just know there's nothing else that you'd rather do in this world. And even if you didn't make money, it would just still fulfill your soul so much to be doing exactly what you're doing.
I can totally relate to that. I actually, so I did have a 9 to 5, and I have a question for you after this. I actually just lost it a couple weeks ago, and my fiance and I said that this is probably a blessing in disguise,
Yeah.
and I just decided I'm going to just jump all the way into my podcasting. I actually got an opportunity to be a head coach for the female podcasters group, and they're growing like crazy. And there's just been so many other opportunities that keep coming up, and I've just kind of settled in, like, this is what I'm meant to do. I've created a name for myself and I love it. And I've touched so many lives in this process, and I'm like, that's it. I'm all in. That's it.
I love that because it's exactly true. Like so many of us go through life thinking life happens to us. Life
Yeah.
happens to us, right? But it's proof that life happens for us when you lean into it and you see it for what it is. And like you said, I mean, you leaned into it, you believed, and look at what's coming up as a result. It's so exciting.
Still a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure.
Because we have 2 households we're supporting, and I'm like, once we merge them together, it won't be so scary, because he's fully supportive of me. But in the process, but I think that, like, there's growth in that hardship. Like I embrace it. I'm just like, okay, bring it. I've been through worse.
Yes.
I've been through worse. Like I've told my story everywhere, so it's not like I haven't experienced hardship. But how long did it take you to write your first book?
The first book took me 10 years.
Oh my goodness. What was it about?
So it was a young adult dystopian, which we're living in that almost almost the exact world. It was about a world without feelings and emotions, and just trying to operate on a more robotic level to remove all of that, and how it doesn't work. There's a reflection in nature of how we should be living as people, and it's there for a reason. I feel like nature is there to reflect that continually to us, and
Yeah.
it takes feeling, it takes life, death, it takes everything in between. So it took me 10 years because I wanted it, but obviously not bad enough. And I also think there was a lot of fears of, once you finish this book, now what? And then, fear of rejection, trying to get
Yeah.
it published. And but it's crazy because my first book took me 10 years, and then my second book took me 30 days to write.
Oh, wow.
And it was 86,000 words. So it was just as long. But again, the difference is knowing your why. It was during that time with the kids. I wasn't sleeping because my youngest wasn't sleeping. He was just 10 months old at the time, and he still doesn't sleep, and he's 4. I'm not sure if he'll ever end. But I wanted it so badly because I wanted to prove it to them. So everything shifted once my why became more clear. I, went from relying on just inspiration and muse. I feel like it's one of the biggest downfalls with creatives, especially writers. Like, we want
Yeah.
inspiration, we want to make it romantic, but there has to be that element of discipline in there. Otherwise, it will not get done. You
Yeah.
still have to be driven. You still have to have a schedule, and it doesn't sound fun and romantic, but that's how you get books done. So big shift.
Yeah, I'd say. What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Can we get a round of applause today? Woo! Today I'm excited to announce Manscaped launched their Ultra Premium Collection. Believe it or not, it's for your not so private parts. I'm talking about leveled up hygiene routine with your favorite manly scent. And let me tell you something. Oh, it smells so good. My man wears this every day. This is an all-in-one skin and hair care kit for the everyday man and covers you from head to toe. Manscaped is trusted below the waist. Now trust them with the rest. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com and use the code LABELFREE20 for 20% off and free shipping, and enjoy. I have decided to publish a book for the podcast and use like the first 100 guests and their stories and why they align with the label-free message. And that's going to be my first book project, but I feel like that is a good segue into starting to do that for myself personally.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be very well received, not only from the guests, but anybody else that's out there that's been, following the show for some time. And just all those stories are so impactful, talk to some
And I think
amazing people like
I think,
yourself.
well, thank you. I think it's a great way to repurpose that, though, too. I mean, we have podcasts, we have videos, but maybe I'm biased because of what I do, but I really feel like books last longer than anything else. So if you're able to capture it in a book, I feel like it has more of that chance to be around. And because, it gets passed around. You don't have to rely on, Spotify or any other source to still be alive and kicking. Once books are out there, they're out there. And it's really a beautiful thing. So I love that you're doing that.
Thank you. We're just getting started on that project. I'm a little nervous, but I got all the time in the world now. So
and you have a guide if you want one.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll be disciplined. That's one thing that I'm good at. I'm very disciplined. So you mentioned that you're going to be starting a podcast. Do you want to share that while you're on the show today?
Yeah, sure. It's currently in process of getting trademarked Soul Story, and it's truly about just sharing your life journey. And different aspects, very similar to what you're doing, very similar to yours, but really just about what you've learned throughout, how it's defined who you are today. Kind of like what we were talking about before. I know that it's just this pattern in life. Even when you go through hardships, it tends to be those hardships that really make more evident your own purpose, what makes you really passionate, what sets you on fire. And I think it's when we're able to identify that and own those for what it is, for what they are, we become more empowered, and then we can empower other people as a result. So being able to talk through that, and also the challenge of not of sharing it versus not sharing it, some of the things that we deal with. I'm going through that in my own life right now. It's been a big shedding year for me, with letting go or challenging automatic beliefs.
Oh, yeah.
We
You want to share one? You want to share one of these automatic
Oh,
beliefs
yeah.
that you're setting?
Yes, because it's currently something I'm reading through. So I'm currently going through a divorce, and it's actually my second one. I'm 38 years old, and both have been my own decision. And this one's a little harder because we have two young children. But what I recognized when we were going through it, and I finally admitted that I didn't want to be married anymore, I caught myself saying, I don't ever want to go through this again. And I could have just let that go, but instead I ended up diving into why. Why do I feel that way? Is it just, being upset, having trust issues, whatever it is? And what I ended up discovering is that I never really wanted to be married at all. I was never the little girl who dreamt about her wedding day or the wedding dress or anything like that. I knew I wanted kids. I knew that. So coming from a Christian household, to have kids, you have to get married, and then you have kids. It was never empowerment of, if you want kids, do it. Become, like you can handle it on your own.
Society's expectation, you got to live in this box.
Yes. Well, and then the general life path, right? What do? You go to college and you get a job and you get married, and it's just what you do. And there's no thinking. You're just on automatic. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's been interesting because reflecting back on both of my marriages, even from the engagements to the weddings, I mean, they're both good guys. So it's nothing against them. It's truly all within me. I remember wanting to say no on all of that. But I kept thinking, like, people are here, people have expectations of me. Like, I have to do this. In both men, I remember talking to friends and family leading up to it, and I would be like, it sounds so crazy looking back, but should you be attracted to somebody, or should somebody be a good dad when you're deciding to marry them? And each time they're like, you want a good dad, you want a good dad. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, these men will make really good dads someday.
Oh, wow.
And so I kind of married them because they would be good dads. And it's weird looking back. And this sounds so crazy, but I was watching something stupid like a year and a half ago, probably like The Bachelor, Bachelorette or something. And someone said something on there that was like, I really want to find someone that I'm waking up every day with and laughing with. And it was that element of finding someone that you laugh with every single day that struck this like deep chord in me. And I was like, oh, that's a partner.
Yeah.
That's what you should be aiming for. And so it was all of these, like, again, where I was on automatic beliefs all my life. And then I'm starting to challenge them and find out who I really am. And the moment I said, I don't want to be married, not that I don't believe in marriage, I just don't feel like it's right for me. All of these other revelations about who I am as a person started like dripping in. And it was so eye-opening, so empowering.
Yeah.
It was incredible, but it's been really trying to work through that in terms of even having Christian friends. And I'm still a Christian, I always will be, but it's been interesting that they've been able to accept the divorce easier than what they have to accept the fact that I never want to get married again. Because people hear that and they think it's almost this like, I'm condemning myself to loneliness for life.
Like old maid, right?
Yes. And I'm like, I'm not saying that. I just think that, again, one of my beliefs that we put too much emphasis on lifelong things versus, again, looking at nature and honoring rebirths, life and death, and appreciating when a relationship, a friendship has served its time.
Right. Absolutely.
And honoring that time, appreciating it, but saying, you know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
Time has ended. On to the next chapter.
Yeah.
And I think we should be able to do that more throughout life and have that freedom in doing so.
That's very powerful. What you just said, I would wonder how many women out there can relate to what you said. So now I never wanted to get married either, and I never
Mhm.
actually wanted kids. But when I met my late husband, I was like, oh, I can marry this man, like, and I wanted kids with him, but he was too sick to give me any.
Mm.
Now, 6 years later, I've met a new man that we're going to get married, and he's in the same place in his life with, as I am. We're in our mid 40s, so we're going to have to get some help. But I had not thought I was going to get married. I was like, no way, I'm not getting married again. I'm good. I got to a really good place just being by myself and embracing that, like being
Mhm.
single and not having to, like, because when I was single before, I would drink a lot, go out, just party, woo-hoo.
Yeah.
But in this current stage of my life, I just sat with myself. I would sit in my home in silence and just embrace being with myself and not having to fill the emptiness with anything. And it was super healing, super powerful. And then I met my new my new man, my new partner, Mike. And I didn't think I'd ever want to get married again. But now I just can't wait. So you never know. You might
I love
meet
that.
someone that you will make you laugh every day and you'll feel more like a partner, because that's really what it should feel like, is a
Yes.
partnership.
I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. And I love that. I love that shift. And I think you also came to a really important place that is hard to get to, right?
Oh
Where
yeah.
you said you can be with yourself in silence, especially not with the TV on distracting you, not watching rom-coms or anything else. You're happy with yourself.
Yeah.
And
You
so,
know what's interesting? A lot of people can't do that,
no,
you know,
no.
and that's
And
like,
that's, yes.
keep going. Sorry. I mean,
No, that's where I feel like my personal, like where what I'm focused on right now is getting to that exact place.
yeah.
And who knows, right? Once you reach that, I feel like that's a whole level of growth that's so important to achieve. And not just for like, hey, cool, I did it for a week. I meditated, hung out by myself, that's good. Like knowing that if this is every day for the rest of your life, you're solid.
Yeah. Yeah. There was ebbs and flows. Don't get me wrong. Like over the last 6 years, it was like, this is great. Then I'd feel really bad. I would cry, and then I'd be like, this is great again. And then finally, where a lot of the crying started tapering off, and I wasn't feeling so lonely. And I was just like very, very calm and stable and
Yes.
at peace. And I woke up every day deciding to be happy and purposeful and
Mm.
joyful, and just like, no matter what was going on around me, however hard it might be, who is in my life or not in my life, I'm good.
Mm.
And I've done that naturally throughout my life, like letting relationships go. If they no longer served me, or they were toxic, or they weren't good friends, I have no problem like, see ya. I think that's good to do, because not everybody's supposed to be in your life forever.
So let me ask you with that, and this is probably a little bit more selfish, but I'm curious with that, with where I'm at and what I've been able to think through lately. Going from that perspective into now a marriage with someone where you just said, like, I know I want to laugh with them for the rest of my life. Is there any of that where you feel like it could come to a natural end again?
No, I mean, because we've had some fights where I was just like very irritated. Whereas before, I'd be like, "Oh, I want to be done. I want to run far away from this person." With him, I don't feel like running away from him.
That's
I'm
powerful.
just like, I'll just be mad at him for the moment, and I'll wait for things to calm down, and then we'll talk it out. And it's just like, I don't have that feeling like, oh, I just want to run away, I don't want to deal with this, I want this to be over. But
Mm.
I've had those thoughts before in my marriage. I was like, is
Mhm.
this worth it? Because we had a huge lifestyle, and I sacrificed a lot, and I would think to myself, is this really worth it? And I, just like all those thoughts going back and forth constantly. I never threw out divorce, because I didn't believe in it. I was just like, I'll hit you over the head with the frying pan before you leave me. But unfortunately, he didn't make it. He gave up. I knew he wasn't going to make it, but I did have those thoughts with him. So,
That's so fascinating because I honestly can't remember being in a relationship where I didn't have those feelings.
hmm.
So
You haven't met your one yet, your twin
that's
flame.
true. That's true. I'm completely open to that.
Yeah, and that
To
doesn't
be continued.
yes, to be continued. I love that. Okay, so yeah, because we're past time here. So where can people find you, connect with you, support you, all that good stuff?
So you can find me at burningsoulpress.com. That's my business website. We also have Instagram and Facebook, Burning Soul Press. But you can also find me on Instagram at lauren.n.eckhardt. I tend to use that. My company runs Burning Soul Press. So if you want to connect with me, I would love to connect with you on Instagram. I love meeting new people. And this was way too short.
I know. So if anybody's out there that's interested in learning how or has the slightest inclination to write your book, write your story, because it is impactful no matter where you are, don't hesitate to reach out to Lauren. Obviously, she is very engaging and just like her energy is awesome and infectious. So I'm sure she would welcome to reach out and to connect with her. Lauren,
100%.
you are awesome. We will definitely have to have like a part 2 because this was
Yes.
too much fun, but we're way past our time. So I've got to say thank you for being a guest. And I look forward to next time and seeing how you just continue to evolve in this new phase in your life. So I think it's going to be a lot of great things for you on the horizon.
Well, you have me even more excited. So thank you for the wonderful chat today.
I would ask you this, but I'm like, yeah, I'll ask you anyway. So no matter what, we're past whatever. If you guys fall off, you fall off. If you do, that's your fault. Any last words of wisdom or advice for the audience?
Yeah, especially for those of you who are thinking about writing your story. It's kind of like what we were talking about with the importance of your life journey. You have to recognize that and really see the impact within. And I always recommend the best thing you can do for your time in this world is document your story for you. Even if you're thinking about maybe writing a memoir for a book someday, still just write your story for you. Write the truth, write the raw version of it. Don't think about anyone else reading it. And then what you can do is always save that copy, make a copy of that document, and then you can edit it, do whatever you want to actually share it with the world someday. But you will never regret actually just capturing the truth for you. And then maybe if you want to share it with your kids someday or someone important. But step number 1, always write for you first, edit for the world later.
Ooh, yes, I like that. Great advice. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Please don't forget to comment, share, review, rate, subscribe, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.